Same mistakes, same places, over and over. I've been watching it happen for years. People arrive in Portugal with a solid plan, a realistic number, and a city they chose after months of research. Then the reality hits, and the city they chose is the reason it hits hard. This video covers the cities I'd tell a close friend to think twice about before signing anything. Not because they're bad places, because the gap between what you see online and what you find when you arrive is wide enough to cost you real money. By the end, you'll also know who each city actually works for, even the ones I'm warning you about. Because the honest answer is never just avoid this place. It's avoid this place if you're this type of person with this kind of budget. Everyone knows Lisbon is expensive. That's not the problem. The problem is that knowing it and budgeting for it are two completely different things. Most people arrive with a number in their head. That number is wrong. Lisbon has moved, and the content hasn't kept up. A decent one-bedroom in a livable neighborhood right now sits between €1,000 and €1,400 a month. I pay €1,022. It's a good place, clean, functional, reminds me of apartments I've lived in the US. But this one is also genuinely small, smaller than I'd want long-term. And I'm like 12 minutes away from central Lisbon. That's what €1,000 gets you in 2026. If you're budgeting €2,000 a month as a single person, you can make it work. Comfortable but close to tight. There's not a lot of room for error, for an unexpected expense, for a medical bill, for a flight home. Check my previous video and you'll understand exactly what I'm talking about. I'll remind you about it in the end. So back to prices. Finding an apartment in Lisbon took me over 4 months. 4 months. And I know this city. I'm fluent in Portuguese. I understand how it works. People were refusing my documents because my income wasn't from Portugal. Landlords asking for Portuguese payslips, Portuguese contracts, proof of local employment. I had a residency that was in renewal, and that alone was enough for most of them to say no. I eventually found a landlord who gave me a chance. 2 years in, never paid late, not once. That is what 4 months of searching looks like when landlords demand Portuguese income proof and you do not have it. If you're arriving from the US, the UK, Canada, or Australia with foreign income and foreign documents, build that timeline into your plan. Not 3 weeks to find a place, 3 to 6 months minimum, and have a backup, a short-term rental, an Airbnb, somewhere you can stay while you search. Because the search takes longer than anyone tells you. One more thing people keep getting wrong about Lisbon: the across-the-river solution. Almada, Amora, Setúbal. You'll hear it constantly. Go across the river, it's cheaper, same distance, better value. It was true. It is not true anymore. Prices across the river have followed Lisbon's trajectory without giving you Lisbon's infrastructure. You're paying near Lisbon prices for less access to everything that makes Lisbon worth the price. Lisbon works if you have the budget, the patience for the search, and the right documents. If any one of those three is missing, the city will punish you for it before you've settled in. Run your actual Lisbon numbers, today's listings, and add 3 to 6 months of short-term accommodation to your arrival budget. That's what you're actually working with. The first time you visit Cascais, you will love it. Almost everyone does. It feels like a different version of Portugal. Relaxed, clean, modern. The kind of place where you walk around and think, this is it. This is exactly what I was looking for. The beaches are right there. The architecture is beautiful. The whole place has a quality to it that feels different from Lisbon, different from anywhere else you've been in the country. And then you look at the rental listings. A one-bedroom apartment in Cascais runs €1,200 to €1,800 a month. That is not a premium neighborhood price. That is the standard range for a normal apartment in a normal part of town. For context, Cascais has the second highest property prices in Portugal, sitting just behind Lisbon at €4,346 per square meter. It is not a hidden gem. It stopped being a hidden gem a long time ago. There is something specific happening in Cascais that is worth understanding before you fall in love with it. Landlords there know their market. They know that the people inquiring about their properties are coming from the US, the UK, Australia, and countries where these prices feel reasonable compared to what they left behind. So the prices reflect that. You are not paying what a Portuguese family would pay for that apartment. You are paying what the market has learned an expat will pay. That gap is real, and it is built into the asking price before you even make contact. The Lisbon train line makes Cascais feel like a practical option. 40 minutes, €40 a month on your pass, close enough to the city when you need it. That convenience is real. But you are paying Lisbon prices for an address that is not Lisbon, in a town that quiets down significantly outside of the summer months, with fewer services and less infrastructure than the capital. Cascais works for a specific person, someone with a strong budget who wants the coastal lifestyle above everything else, and who has already stress-tested the numbers. For everyone else, the gap between how it feels and what it costs is the most expensive surprise in Portugal. Before you visit, run your numbers. I built a free cost estimator that gives you a realistic monthly figure based on your situation, your family size, your lifestyle. Find the link in the description. Porto has a reputation, and that reputation is the problem. For years, Porto was the answer to Lisbon. Too expensive in the capital? Go north. Same quality of life, same access to the coast, a fraction of the price. That story spread everywhere. Blog posts, YouTube videos, expat forums. Porto as the smart choice. Porto as the budget-friendly alternative. Porto as the city that gives you everything Lisbon gives you without bleeding you dry. That story is out of date. Porto in 2026 costs what Lisbon cost in 2020. A one-bedroom apartment in the city center now sits between €1,000 and €1,200 a month. The historic center, Bonfim, Foz do Douro, these are not cheap neighborhoods anymore. They are priced for the international market that discovered them and stayed. The gap between Porto and Lisbon has been closing for 3 years, and it is still closing now. Porto is still cheaper than Lisbon. That part is true. But it is not cheaper by the margin most people are counting on. If you built your budget on what Porto cost in 2021 or 2022, you are going to arrive in 2026 and find a city that has already repriced itself while you were researching. The people most at risk here are the careful planners, the ones who did their research, watched the videos, read the guides, built a spreadsheet, because that research has a publication date. And if the content you found was written 2 or 3 years ago, the numbers it gave you are no longer the numbers you will find on the ground. Porto is a genuinely good city. The food, the river, the neighborhoods, the pace of life, none of that has changed. What has changed is the price of getting into it. Before you finalize any Porto budget, go to Idealista right now and check live listings for the specific neighborhoods you are considering. Live listings, today's prices. That is the only number that matters. And if you are working through a decision right now and you want someone to look at your specific situation, your timeline, your budget, your visa, and give you an honest answer rather than a generic one, book a clarity call. We will sort through it together in one conversation. Link is in the description. Now let's talk about the Algarve. It is not a mistake. It is a mismatch. Most people who end up regretting it did not make a bad decision. They made a decision based on an incomplete picture. And the part that was missing is the part nobody shows you because it does not photograph well. You have seen the Algarve in July. The cliffs, the water, the light. The restaurants full, the beaches busy, the whole region running at full energy. That version of the Algarve is real. It exists. And if that is what you are moving to Portugal for, the Algarve in summer will give it to you every single year. November will not. Outside of the summer months, coastal towns in the Algarve go quiet in a way that surprises people who have only ever visited in peak season. Restaurants close, services thin out. The expat social infrastructure that felt so rich in July shrinks considerably by January. If you are someone who needs energy around you, access to things, a sense that the city is moving, the off-season Algarve is a different place to the one that convinced you to move there. Then there is the car. In most of the Algarve, outside of Faro, a car is not optional. It is the cost of living there. Budget €150 to €250 a month on top of your rent for fuel, insurance, and maintenance. That line item does not appear in most cost of living guides. It appears in your bank statement every single month. On rent, a one-bedroom in coastal towns like Lagos, Faro, and Albufeira runs €800 to €1,200 on a year-round lease. Summer short-term prices spike 20 to 40% above that, which matters if you arrive without a long-term contract in place. Property prices across the region average €3,870 per square meter, the highest in Portugal outside the Lisbon area. The Algarve is not the cheap southern escape it is sometimes sold as. You are paying for the weather, the beaches, the lifestyle. That premium is real, and it is consistent. The Algarve works. For the right person, it works extremely well. Retirees who want guaranteed sunshine, beach access, a strong English-speaking community, and a pace of life built around outdoor living. That person will be happy there for decades. But if you are expecting urban infrastructure, year-round social energy, or a city that moves at the same speed in February as it does in August, the Algarve will disappoint you. Not because it failed, because it was never that place. Before you commit to anything in the Algarve, spend at least 2 weeks there in November or February, not July, not September. The months when the tourists are gone and the real rhythm of the place shows itself. Then decide. And if none of the 4 cities in this video are landing right for your budget, I keep an updated resource guide with vetted alternatives across Portugal, covering housing, areas to consider, and honest assessments of what each option actually costs. Link is in the description. You now know something most people find out after they have already signed a lease. Lisbon will cost more than your research told you and take longer to get into than you planned. Cascais will make you fall in love before it shows you the price tag. Porto is cheaper than Lisbon, but not by the margin everyone is counting on. And the Algarve in July is a completely different place to the Algarve in January. None of these cities are bad. Every single one of them works for someone. The difference between the people who thrive and the people who struggle is almost never the city. It is whether they understood what they were actually choosing before they chose it. If you have questions, a situation you are not sure about, or something specific you need help thinking through, my email is in the description. Send me a message. And remember when I mentioned leaving room for unexpected expenses? A medical bill you did not see coming? The video that just popped up on your screen is exactly what I was talking about. Watch it next. Ciao.